Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia. This is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
Hello, the sweetness.
Okay, so today is our 100th episode.
Oh, let me
Listeners,
pop open a bottle of champagne.
wonderful, wonderful. So, listeners, it is August 26th, 2022 at 5 o'clock. You have 2 weeks to go on the Facebook page. If you invite 25 people on your the Facebook page, you are entered to win a $25 Amazon gift card in celebration of our 100th episode. Keeping that in mind.
Where'd you get that?
Uh,
Where'd you get the $25 Amazon gift card? I could use it.
okay, so we will announce the winner. We'll let you know beforehand. We'll do the raffle. And we can announce you on the next podcast, or we'll just say a winner if in case you want to be held private. All right, back to the episode. So, you want to talk about wedding preparations and crazy wedding preparations. So tell me, Ima, what crazy wedding preparations did you go through for your wedding? And then we'll go on to the rest of Baruch Hashem, Kanadahar, your many, many children.
Well, what happened was I told my mother that I wasn't so crazy about spending all this money on flowers. And my mother agreed with me. So we had on the table centerpieces. We decided to have bowls of fruit, which we thought was nicer. And I thought my mother was okay with it. And then I found out, I overheard her talking to somebody over the phone, and she really was disappointed that there wasn't some flowers for, maybe for her, maybe for, me, or, like a few people. So I went ahead and I called a florist. I thought it would surprise her. And I called this florist and I made an order, and I made the order was supposed to arrive. This was supposed to be after Shabbos. When I was home, the order was supposed to have, I was spending Shabbos someplace else. It's because my family's on Shomer Shabbos, so I could not spend Shabbos with them.
Yeah.
So they botched it. They brought the flowers on Shabbos. See, the idea was they would bring the flowers after Shabbos when I was there and I would pay for them. They brought the flowers after Shabbos. My mother wound up paying for them and was a little irritated that, nobody told her about it and that she wound up having to pay for them. And when I came home after Shabbos, she was a little irritated and she says, "Why didn't you tell me about the flowers? I wound up having to pay for them." And I said, "I can't believe it." I told her I wanted to surprise her. The order was this was before the days of, when you could make orders over the phone and pay them over a credit card over the phone. In those days, you had to be there to pay either in cash or a check when things arrived.
Oh,
They
wow.
didn't have any of this business over the phone of paying, like I said,
Nothing prepaid. Nothing prepaid.
Right. So I was really irritated, and I called up the florist, and I, really laid into them. I was really irritated that they had botched it like this. So anyway, then the day of the wedding, I forgot your father's talis. It was back at my house, and my father drove back to the house to get the talis and missed some of the pictures that they took.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were taking they took some pictures I wasn't aware of at the time, because I was in the bridal room saying Tehillim and getting ready to go to the chuppah. In the meantime, this photographer had never had experience with Orthodox Jewish weddings. In fact, our wedding, Baltimore in general, had very few Orthodox Jewish weddings at the time. Most Orthodox Jewish weddings were usually in New York. So we had a lot to deal with caterers and people that weren't familiar with our customs. So the photographer, he's used to taking pictures of everyone before the wedding. And we tried to explain to him that the bride and groom do not see each other before the chuppah, and that pictures are usually taken after the chuppah or taken after the wedding's all over and you sit everybody down. So he didn't like the idea. So without my knowledge, he took pictures of my parents and my in-laws and relatives and yada yada. And there were some of the pictures my father was not in. because
Oh wow.
I sent them back to get the talis. I wasn't aware of what was going on. The photographer really should have waited. He was and I was not impressed with this photographer. Neither was your father. But anyway, it was what it was. And and then there was the thing with the mechitza when we told the caterer that
Yeah,
we
we
wanted
talked about that. We
yeah,
talked about
right,
the mechitza
right, the
thing.
mechitza whole thing,
We've had that
yeah,
discussion before.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was, but just in general, I think getting wedding plans in general for a lot of people can be very, very stressful.
Yeah.
And especially the dresses and everything, and having just the right dress, the right color, and yada yada. Like the dress that I got maybe about a couple weeks ago. What happened was um I went one of your sisters arranged for me to meet with a fashion stylist from Nordstrom's.
Oh wow.
And unfortunately, she tried her best, but the dresses that they had there were not tznius, and she didn't understand. She goes, "I have long sleeves," but then had plunging necklines. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
really, none of them really looked that great on me. Even though she really, I give the lady a lot of credit. She really did try her best. So, one of your sisters ordered a dress online for me. And this is why I do not like ordering dresses online. I don't mind like tops, like say like casual tops online. I've ordered those a few times and that worked out just fine because the type of tops that I ordered were 3/4 length sleeves and were not tight fitting.
Hmm.
So it worked out fine for me. But to order an actual, like a really dress where you're going to be not the center of attention, but you're going to be, let's put it this way, you're going to be on the chuppah in front of everybody, and you need to look nice. You need to look really good. Um, I don't believe in ordering online. I mean, it's like a gamble. Sometimes you get what you think it's supposed to look like on you. Sometimes you don't. Well, in this particular case, it didn't. I put the thing on, and it looked horrible on me.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to say so anyway. Uh, Somebody wanted me to pay the money for the airfare and take a plane to New York for the day and go to one of the gemachs in New York. And it was at that point that I lost it.
Oh God.
Um, I think I have to hire a carpenter to hammer back on the roof of my house after I finished screaming. I blew a fit. I couldn't take it anymore. All this
Yeah.
pressure to get just the right dress and look just the right way. And it's like I finally screamed. I said, I am not putting up with this anymore. I can't do it. I am finished. I am through. So this person says to me, but don't you care? No, I don't care. And I really screamed. I mean, like I said, totally lost it. I said, I am not spending $500 to take a plane up to rent a gown for $300. When New York Gamaka, I said, for $1,000, I could hire a seamstress and have an unbelievably beautiful gown made for that money. I said, I'm going to go to one more place here in Florida. If they don't have what I need, I am going to wear the gown. I meant, from one of your sister's weddings. The color is supposed to be black. They wanted the mothers to wear black. So I said, this black is black and silver. This gown is black and silver. It was good enough for her wedding. It'll be good enough for your brother's wedding. And what did and it was like, I really had a total, all this pressure of having to look good and having to get the right gown and everything. And I'm very hard to fit. I am
Hmm.
not easy to fit. I'm short. I'm short. I'm kind of on the stocky side, and unless you're nice and tall and thin like a model, unless you're a stick, it's hard. It's hard to find something that looks really nice on you. So finally, someone told me about this gemach, a little distance away from me in Florida. This gemach is in Hollywood, and I went there. And sure enough, there was a black gown. It had these sparklies, like these sequins all
Hmm.
over the gown. So I told the lady in charge of the Gemacht, I said, I need to put this on our family WhatsApp and I need to get the approval of the family. So she goes, okay. So she took the picture for me. I put it on the family WhatsApp and I get, looks great on you. Yes, get it, looks great on you. So this lady was so nice. She said, she says, this is, she said it was, an unusual, it was like an unusual gown. It was, you know, a larger size and it was black. And she says, we don't get too many requests for this particular gown,
Yeah.
besides the fact that it was really for a much taller person. The hem was way, way much too long for me, which would mean it would need to be altered. And some of the sequencing was starting to come off. There were areas of the gown that were bald. They were balding.
Mm,
So she says to me, you know what? She says, I'll give you the name and phone number of our seamstress. She's in Adventura in Miami. So I said to her, well, if you're giving me this gown, can't I just take it to, you know, anybody I can find in Boynton, which is closer to where I live? And so she says, okay. She goes, she was very nice. She says, you can keep the gown, you can have it. It's okay. She outright just gave it to me. It was really sweet of her. So I went to this one place in Boynton, which is a really good, they're very good with alterations. They're terrific, very good people. But they wanted $300.
oh wow.
And I said, no. And they agreed. They said, they were very nice. They didn't pressure me. They said, really, they said for $300 you can go to one of the stores and get a brand new gown. So I called this seamstress, and she looked it over. I drove it down there. She looked it over, and she said she said she's going to charge me 100.
Okay.
So which is well worth it. I mean, this is a gown I got for free. So I got it, like that. I mean, I'm going to give the Gemach and the Dava to thank them. So anyway, so she, Baruch Hashem, so she's taking care of the gown, and I'm going to be trying it on. I'm going to be picking it up this week. But anyway, that's, I mean, it just seems to me that, I wish Simcha's Simcha should not have this much pressure
It's
connected to it.
life. It's
Just
life. It's, you know what? That's what's so funny. That's what it had this story in the Gemara. I mean, it's not simcha, but like the issue with funerals and why Jewish funerals are supposed to be very cheap was because during the times of the Gemara, funerals were so expensive, it's so elaborate. You had stories where you had people had to bring flutes to the funeral, people had to bring criers to the funeral, people had to bring all sorts of things to a funeral.
oh
And got to a
gosh,
point where a rabbi was walking in the streets and he saw a dead body, and a woman was crying, and he's like, well, why are you crying? And she said, I can't afford the funeral. And so he
ah,
decided after that that he wanted to have the cheapest funeral. And he said that should be the example and set a precedent for Jewish funerals. And ever since then,
mm,
funerals in Judaism have always been very cheap, very quick, very cheap. And I think with weddings, especially nowadays, I know in Baltimore there's, and in case anybody's wondering, a Terrace Elka is a great program for people on a budget who need to get a wedding done. They have everything like a pre-made package, but even then, the pre-made package, we had some issues where because there's there's add-ons, and that's just general wedding planning where it's like you pay for this but you add for that, and it got to a point where we were talking to them and they were having more and more add-ons where a wedding for one price, which was in our budget, was going way higher. Like, we can't do this. And it got to a point where, like, at one point we spoke to them and we are going to have the wedding at 5 instead of 6. And they're like, well, we can't do that because our packages only start with the wedding is supposed to start at 6. We might have something early in the morning. And we told them, like, hold up, no, we already like agreed. I think we had it like on email too, that they agreed with no extra charge to have the wedding starting at 5. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We'll reconquer whatever you want to say. Um, and of course, there's always like communication issues with people where it's like, oh, the theme color is supposed to be, pink, or it's supposed to be spring colors, or it's supposed to be this, that, and the other. And you try to make it easy, And no matter how hard you try, there's always going to be someone or some people that are going to have problems with it, that they're going to complain about something. They're going to talk smack behind your back. They're going to have issues with this, issues with that. You just, that's what you expect because that's kind
Hmm.
of the way it is. Hopefully, God willing, there's going to be some mass situation where people are just going to be done with it. Like,
Hmm.
uh, I don't know, in my opinion, maybe like bar mitzvahs might start becoming less expensive and starting to become more, humble because I just see people get more and more elaborate. Um, you
What I'm
know,
surprised about is remember the first year that COVID hit,
yes,
and people couldn't even have big weddings. They, had to have these very simple, small weddings with very few people.
yes,
And you think we would have learned from that.
yeah, but that's life. Oh, I need to inform you. Pesci tried to call me. She said to let you know that she is making your cinnamon and sugar rugelach.
Ooh, my cinnamon sugar regular.
So let's take it from the top. Okay, child
Uh.
number one. Problems with that wedding. Besides the other issues that we both definitely know, let's get into the semantics of it. I would say
Well,
maybe
actually, that
photographer. There wasn't
that
a
what?
photographer. We had like we had wind up
Huh?
cameras at the time.
Oh my
Everyone got a wind up camera.
God.
You know?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Oh, I remember the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Yes, there were some weddings at the time, you're right, where they did that, where they put these small these small the small cameras at the table so people could take pictures and have like a memory. Guests could actually take pictures, have a
No, it
memory of the
wasn't for
wedding, right?
memory. It literally was to take
No,
pictures for the
no,
chassan and kala. Yes, that was the wedding. That's what happened.
no. I thought the
No,
pictures were
no,
supposed to be so people could have
no.
their own personal pictures of the
No,
wedding.
no, that's not what it
No,
was. That's not what it was. That's
but
not what it
but
was.
your sister had a regular wedding album and everything.
Did she?
Yeah.
I think what it was. I think
Yes.
something with the photographer. Are
Yes.
you sure? Because I think there was something with the photographer. That's something happened there. We might have to confirm this. We might have to
I,
there.
I I remember having a wedding album, but got a good at dinner. She got divorced from the guy
Yeah,
anyway.
Emma.
So
Let's not dive into that. I was trying to work around things.
that's another thing. When my sister got divorced, the first thing my mother said was, "All that money I spent on the wedding,"
Yeah, whatever. It
and
is
they
what it
got
is. It's life.
divorced.
Who cares? Who cares? We're all gonna be dead anyways. It doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I know. I walked down the aisle with Bubby, and Tati was so angry with me. He was so angry with me. I was 10 at the time, and he was just like livid. Like he could like it was like he could see red when like he saw me walk down the aisle. I'm like, oh, whatever. I thought I was supposed to walk down the aisle with her. Yeah, he freaked out about that.
Oh, okay.
Um, let's see what other problems with that wedding.
Let's
Uh,
not talk. Let's not talk
I
about
can't.
that
Okay, then.
wedding.
Sibling number two. I I don't think there was any issues. Oh, there was one. Yes, because the
Uh-huh.
my brother-in-law wanted to dance with his mother, and Tati said no. And at the end of the wedding, she danced with him anyways. That's one I think I do remember from it.
Hmm.
Was there
I've
anything
seen.
else?
I'll tell you, I've seen Orthodox, like very from Jewish weddings, where the family, the immediate family, the
Yes.
husband, the wife, and the kids got together, made a circle, and had a family dance. I've seen that.
Yeah, look, it's all been
Yeah.
done. It been plenty of weddings, one thing or another, they've done something.
Mhm. Well,
Was
no,
there
In Chabad, we do not have the mitzvahs.
and in Chabad they don't bury each other. They have separate men and women graveyards. So
You
was there
never know.
any
Hey, wait a minute. You never know what can happen, man, when nobody's looking.
Jesus. So for number two, was there anything else? Or that was it. That's all I can think of.
um, every wedding has its
I know.
little
There's little
things.
things, but that's the topic. I'm
What I
trying to focus
remember
on.
about one of your sister's weddings was the obnoxious caterer's wife who was trying to schlep us around here, there, pictures, da 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 da. I'm trying to greet guests. I'm trying to eat a little something. I'm trying to
Mhm.
enjoy my own child's semblance. And the woman almost literally took the food out of my mouth, grabbed me by the arm. Come on, you've got to be in this room. Now you got to be here. Now you got to be there. I just took her under. I said, "Will you please leave me alone and let me enjoy my simcha?"
Yeah. Um,
I mean, I know she felt the responsibility to coordinate everything and to
ooh,
make sure pictures were on time, and to make sure this was on time, and the chuppah was, and yada yada and everything. But still, relax and let people enjoy their own child's
no, no.
Sarah, chasana.
I was just listening to a podcast this week, and this woman who used to be a wedding photographer, she said you literally have to drag all of them around, because if you don't drag them around and get them to do certain photography and you try to be nice, they will not have good pictures. You really got to be
Mm-hmm,
aggressive because they're going to be preoccupied. You got to move them around. You have to do it. You have to do
mm-hmm,
it. And she was making a whole big like statement about that. So no, I think she was in the
mm-hmm,
right. Like she said, she also admitted, she's like, yeah, you got to be a little aggressive and annoying and a little
mm-hmm.
whatever. But you have to do it for the pictures. It's definitely worth it. Um,
I could see that point of view. At the time, I didn't feel that way, but now that you mention it, now that you bring it up this way, yeah, I can understand that.
yeah, because speaking of photography, I think with sibling number three, the wedding, there was like no photography. There was like one person that was friends with the chassan decided to go ahead and on his own accord take pictures and make an album for the chassan and
Mm-hmm.
kala, but there was
Right.
no official photographer, I don't think, or something happened with them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't remember. I do remember the very last picture of your brother's wedding album of sibling number three. The two of them in a golf cart going off
Yes,
going off into the
yes.
distance in a golf cart.
So out of curiosity,
Because
there was
the chasana was done in a mansion that was on a golf course, a
yes,
country club. Yeah.
yes. So what I'm asking is that, like, what wedding stresses were there for sibling number one, two, and three getting the wedding together that you noticed, or what stresses you had to go through during those weddings? Because you kind of glazed over. You didn't really focus on anything.
Um, I'm trying to think about. Well, there was also, well, the thing is, the the gown situation, thank God, was not um the gown situation was not as stressful, because first of all, at that time we were all in Baltimore. So
Yeah.
the whole family, everybody's in Baltimore, and there was a woman right in our area who was a seamstress. Unfortunately, she passed away, but
Hmm.
she was a Jamaican lady, and she was right there, right there in our area, just like a 5-minute drive away. And she was terrific. She made custom made gowns, took your measurements, went over, drew a picture of the type of style she thought would look good on you, and did it very, very economically. She only charged on an average of $200 a gown,
Hmm.
and she did it in a very interesting way. She would go over the style with you, and she serviced a lot of people in the Orthodox Jewish community, so she knew about our tznius standards. And what she did was she would go to the fabric store. In fact, she would buy the fabric, everything. She would buy the fabric, the colors you wanted, and she would get, like, depending upon the type of gown you wanted, she would get a basic sleeveless pattern for a basic sleeveless gown, and she would make that, and then she would add on to it,
Okay.
which I thought was very interesting. How she put these gowns together. She showed it was she did it in a very decent amount of time. In fact, she was telling me a story that one time she got a call from a bride who she did not make her gowns. Like this bride had picked up a gown at another place, and she said the night before the wedding, she and her sister were dancing with her wearing she was wearing the gown, and she and her sister were dancing just to try out the gown, how well it would flow with the type of circle and Hebrew dance, Israeli dancing that we do.
Yeah.
and the entire gown tore straight down the back.
Ooh.
And she called her up. It was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Something. She called up in a total panic. And so this woman told her, it was very nice. She says, meet me at the store. She went to the store. She took the gown. She found, yes, it was too tight in the back. She added a piece, and then she added like a whole series of buttons that went down. And that's how they were able to fix it.
So for
another funny story. Oh, I got to tell you another funny story about this lady.
Yeah.
This lady, she was a very, very popular seamstress because, like I said, she was very reasonable and very good. She was telling us a story that she got hired to do the uniforms for a marching band that was coming down from New York, and they were competing in a marching band competition in Washington. So they were leaving New York like in the middle of the night, and they would come into Baltimore, say like about 6 a.m, whatever. So she was working on these uniforms the entire night. Finally, she said she finished the last uniform about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, and she was exhausted. So her shop had this nice like thick carpeting on it, and she was so tired she decided she's just going to lay down on the carpet and just take a nap until these kids come until this band comes at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
The next thing she knows, she wakes up and there's a policeman, there's a fireman, somebody's holding an oxygen mask.
Oh God.
And there's all these people, and these boys are standing around her, and and the paramedics, and then this paramedic says, "Hey, she's alive, she's okay." She goes, "What's going on?" He said the boys came to the shop. They knocked at the door, and she was so tired, she was so asleep, she didn't hear them. So they're knocking and knocking, and then they look and they see her laying on the carpet. They thought either she'd had a heart attack or she was dead or something. So they called the police, and they called the paramedics and the police, and they all came.
That's awesome. All right, so sibling number 4. Anything?
Wait, let me count. Remember? 1, 2, 3. And we can. Let me think who that was.
Yeah.
Sibling number 4 had an idea of the type of design, the type of gown she wanted me to wear, and I showed a picture of the design to the seamstress, and she said, "This is not good for your figure. This is not for you." I said, "I felt that way too." So because she redesigned it, of course, something that was more flattering to my figure. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't her wedding. It was. Did we mention about sibling number 2 when I think Sturdy was like 6 years old and sang beautifully? How she sang under the chuppah.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Okay. So anyway, I don't remember. Oh, yes, I do remember with that particular wedding. There were some people who I invited. There were some people who I invited to the chuppah, and these people I invited to the chuppah. There was a couple. There were a couple women that they'd never gotten married, never had kids, and they didn't really have very happy lives. They had some pretty sad events that happened in their lives, and so and I'd become friendly with them, and I was so happy that I could do something that nice, that they could come and maybe have a nice time at the wedding, but we didn't have enough seats for everyone. Of course, the way that a lot of times you do it, you invite a lot of people to the shmorg and the chuppah.
Yeah.
And then very close friends and family you have for the sit down, because the sit down meal is very expensive.
Yes.
So what happened was these people, I guess they did not understand what was going on. They came to the chuppah
Oh,
And they came, the shmorg and the chuppah, and uh, they stayed for the sit down meal. And all I could think of was the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa.
oh yeah,
And I thought to myself, no. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to embarrass these people by
yeah,
telling them to leave. I said, Kamsa Bar Kamsa, was a lesson for all of us. And in fact, I came over to these people. I sat down next to them. I said, oh, I'm so happy you stayed. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here and everything. I found out later, it was really sad. A few weeks after the wedding, one of them passed away.
oh wow,
And when I heard about that, I thought, I thought I'm so lucky that God gave me the opportunity to at least bring some happiness into this woman's life. That before she passed away, she was able to go to a wedding and have a nice time.
yeah, that is really nice. All right, so number five.
The
Trying to
computer
think number five if I can think of anything.
computer processing, please wait.
I know. I mean, I know I had issues because Uncle Moishi wanted to do this whole elaborate surprise with them. I didn't know. I was told by somebody to quickly get into the costumes, and I got into the costumes with my brother. And what happened was he got very upset because he wanted to do the surprise and he wasn't able to. But yeah, so okay. So, do you know anything?
um,
Anything comes to mind?
well, I was in Avalos at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yes, my my mother had passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't know what I was going to do about a gown. Like I was getting suggestions from people. Like one woman told me that in her case, she was in a in the same situation, and she bought a new gown, but she had her daughter wear it first for
Yes, I've
like for a
heard that
few
before.
hours. So some people, get around it that way. And so your sister was doing her wedding. She wanted the mothers to wear silver, and your sister Mushka, wow, she really did something which was really good. She took uh, Hani, your sister Hani's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I wore a gown that consisted of a sleeveless basic dress and then a black uh, jacket that went over it. She took the sleeveless basic dress, which was silver, from that gown. Then she took the silver top from the gown that I had worn in Frummy's wedding, and she put the two of them together, and they were a perfect match.
That's awesome.
They looked like a brand new gown, looked really good.
All right,
All
so
I
we got it.
remember though about her wedding though was
Yeah.
I had on this sucky. You know what I mean? Like one of these things that are supposed to suck you in so you look 10 pounds thinner.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it was extremely uncomfortable.
Oh wow.
I kept tugging on it and tugging on it. And your sister said, Ema, stop doing that. It really doesn't look good. And I said, but this thing is just so uncomfortable. You talk to any woman who, has like is marrying off one of her kids and having a really nice wedding. And they'll tell you that they strap you into this thing and where you feel like you can't breathe. And then they have the makeup artist. The makeup artist comes and they slap all this makeup on you. You feel like your face is getting plastered. And then
Exactly.
they have this lipstick now that won't wash off while you're eating. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like you're wearing glue on your lips.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
So you get what we women go through don't look good. You guys have it easy. You do.
Yeah, yeah, we do. We do. We're very lucky. We're very lucky.
You don't have
Count
to
my
worry
lucky
about
stars every day.
yeah. You don't have to worry about getting yourself into a sucky, having all this makeup slapped on your face.
Yeah. So we also talked about um I guess the wedding, the most recent wedding before me, Menachem. Yeah, that was a whole COVID situation. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't go. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because we were
Mm.
planning on having Tati like stay at like a hotel
Right.
It was supposed to be this whole thing. We were gonna go
Mhm.
be a part of it. And then just everything just kind of fell through.
Well, that happened to a lot of people around that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anything with friends that you remember with like wedding issues?
Um, I remember one friend. She and her husband eventually got divorced,
Oh,
but
shocker.
he was she of course was very excited and looking forward to you know when they got into the yichud room having a very wonderful moment with him, and instead he spent the entire time in the yichud room just criticizing her makeup.
Oh my God. Wow, that's a
Needless to say,
giant red flag. That is a huge red flag.
yeah, the irony was this guy had a PhD in psychology.
Whatever.
Yeah, she wound up having to get out of the marriage because of domestic abuse.
Oh,
Yeah.
did she learn her
See what?
lesson then?
Oh yeah, she married a great guy many years. Not even many. A few years later, she married a
Oh,
really
wow.
terrific guy. Yeah, she really did. She's married to this day to the same guy.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
but I'm trying to think. Yeah, well, I remember. I think we brought this up before. Like cases of Bari Tshuva whose
Oh,
families would
yeah.
not. Yeah, we that happened where fam- families would not pay for their wedding. Some families wouldn't even go. I mean, you had situations with Bali Tshuva where if one sibling would marry someone who wasn't even Jewish, and the parents would dance and pay for that wedding and have a big beautiful wedding, and for the person who became from, they would cut them off totally and not even come to the wedding, not give one penny.
Yeah,
In
I
situations
remember
like
growing
that.
up and seeing that a little bit and hearing from like parents and like adults when I was a kid, and just really like it always boggled my mind, but that's a different topic for some other time. Um, Anything else? Because we're running out of time. Um, but just trying to rack my brains with anything else. Um,
Let me see. Stresses dealing with simchas. Stresses and simchas. Stresses and simchas. Da, 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 da. Stresses and simchas. Mm, I've heard, yeah, stress. I think, well, I mean, you want to make yeah, I think the best thing for, as far as like simples are concerned, I think you have a lot of people that kind of, how do you say it, want to keep up with the Joneses.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong in making a really fancy simpler if you have the money to comfortably pay for that.
yeah. It's a keeping up with the Joneses is such an issue because it's just you're always so worried. You're always, I don't know. I would think it would just like anybody else would feel this. Is just you're stuck and you have to do something even though you don't want to do it because you're socially obligated. I think that's
But
just in general like being socially obligated is a problem.
I remember during I think it was like the late 1960s
Hmm.
with the hippie movement,
Yeah.
Life magazine had an article
Make it quick. We
about
got less than a minute.
oh Life magazine had an article about weddings, budget weddings where people said, "Hey, let's invite the world," and it showed all these weddings where people had them in parks with just like hot dogs and hamburgers or something, and invited all these people, like very very low budget weddings where people just came and had a good time
All
and
right.
just danced and sang. And one of the weddings, I think
Ema,
about
that's
one of the
it. We're done.
okay,
We're
very quickly though, one of the pictures was a Jewish wedding. It had pictures of various weddings from different groups. And I think back to it, I remember now the the rabbi in the picture, now I think back to it, was actually Shlomo Karabach.
wow.
Mhm.
All right, that's it. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Thank you everybody for listening. I'll talk to you later. I love you.
You too, love Yanni. Have a great Shabbos.
All right, bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I know you would like it, and my mother would too.